This audio program has been produced as a supplement to Longman preparation course for the TOEFL test, Next Generation iBT, by Deborah Phillips. Copyright 2005 by Pearson Education. All rights reserved. The use of this audio program for the purpose of copying, transforming, or adapting in any manner, in whole or in part, is strictly prohibited without prior consent of Pearson Education. CD 1. Longman preparation course for the TOEFL test, Next Generation iBT, by Deborah Phillips. Listening Diagnostic Pretest. This section measures your ability to understand conversations and lectures in English. You will listen to one conversation and one lecture. You will hear each conversation and lecture one time. After each conversation or lecture, you will answer some questions about it. The questions typically ask about the main idea and supporting details. Some questions ask about a speaker's purpose or attitude. Answer the questions based on what is stated or implied by the speakers. You may take notes while you listen. You may use your notes to help you answer the questions. Your notes will not be scored. In some questions, you will see this icon. This means that you will hear, but not see, part of the question. You will now begin this part of the listening section. Questions 1 through 6. Listen to a discussion between a student and an advisor.
Hi, Brad. Thanks for coming in.
No problem. What did you want to see me about?
Well, I saw your mid-semester grade report, and there was something of a problem on it.
You mean my history class?
Yes, exactly. You do understand that there's a problem in your history class, don't you? What is the problem? You're doing fairly well in your other classes, but in history you're, frankly, not doing very well at all. Your grades in your other classes show that you're capable of doing good work. What's the problem in history?
Well, history's so early in the morning.
It's at 9 o'clock. That's not so early.
It seems early to me.
So, set your alarm clock. This brings up a question, by the way. You do get up and go to history class, don't you?
Usually.
Usually? Since it's a class you're not doing well in, you should be there all the time.
I'll try.
And take a seat in the front of the class, near the professor, so you can get involved in the class.
But it's such a big class. You have to get there early to get a seat in the front.
Well, maybe you should try getting there early.
I'll try.
And get there early for every class.
I'll try that too.
Now, is that your only problem in the class, that you miss class sometimes and get there late other times?
No, not exactly.
What else is a problem?
Well, I didn't do too well on the exam.
And what was your problem, do you think?
I studied for the exam, I really did. But there were a lot of questions on the exam that weren't in the class textbook, in the chapters that were covered on the exam. At least half the questions on the exam weren't from the book.
Do you understand why?
I think there must have been a lot of questions from the lectures, stuff that wasn't covered in the text.
Are you sure?
No, but I think so.
Well, maybe you should check with the professor and find out if that's the case.
Okay.
And if it is, maybe you should concentrate on taking good notes during the lectures.
Okay.
And of course, you should be in class all the time to take good notes.
That's for sure.
Okay, so check back with me in a couple of weeks and let me know how you're handling this.
I'll do that.
Number 1. Why does the advisor want to talk with the student? Number 2. What problems does the student have? Number 3. Listen again to part of the passage. Then answer the question.
This brings up a question, by the way. You do get up and go to history class, don't you?
Usually.
Usually?
What does the advisor mean when she says this?
Usually?
Number 4. How does the advisor seem to feel about the student's responses? Number 5. Does the advisor recommend each of these? Number 6. What can be concluded from the conversation? Questions 7 through 12. Listen as an instructor leads a discussion of some material from a psychology class.
Today, we're going to review the characteristics of sleep in both humans and other types of living beings. We talked about this some in the last class, and you should have done the reading, so this should all be clear to you. First of all, what are the main characteristics of sleep? Let's talk about this diagram. What happens to the human body when a person is sleeping? Can you start this off for us, Pam?
Well, during sleep, the muscles relax. Both breathing and heart rate slow down and brain waves change.
Exactly. Now, let's look at these drawings of brainwave patterns. Ron, can you explain how brainwaves change?
I think so. The brain of a person who's awake and relaxed gives off about 10 small waves per second, like in the drawing on the left. But it's different in deep sleep.
What's different about deep sleep?
Well, I think that in deep sleep, the brain waves become much slower and larger, like in the drawing on the right.
Well, you don't sound quite sure of your answers, Ron, but you've got them exactly right. Brainwaves are the slowest and largest during the first few hours of a period of sleep. This is called the period of slow wave sleep. Are brainwaves always large and slow during sleep? Nancy?
No, there are periods of small and fast waves at intervals during a period of sleep. These short and fast waves are similar to the brainwaves of a person who's awake.
And what happens to the eyes during these periods of fast brain activity?
The sleeper's eyes move rapidly. This is called rapid eye movement sleep, or REM sleep.
Yes, Pam, exactly. And what other name does the period of REM, or rapid eye movement sleep, have?
REM sleep is called dreaming sleep, because this is when dreaming occurs.
Okay, let's stop for a moment and make sure it's all clear so far. We've seen that when a person sleeps, there are different types of brainwave activity. There are periods of large, slow brainwaves during deep sleep, and there are periods of small, fast brainwaves during REM or dreaming sleep. Now, we're going to compare human sleep patterns with the sleep patterns of certain animals. What can you tell me about the sleep patterns of mammals, Ron?
Mammals seem to experience true sleep, with changes in brainwave patterns. They have periods of dreaming sleep and periods of slow wave sleep.
And what about reptiles and fish? Nancy?
Reptiles also experience sleep with changes in brainwave patterns, but they don't seem to have periods of dreaming sleep. Fish have periods when they become less aware of their surroundings, but there's no scientific evidence of changes in brainwaves.
Excellent. Now, Pam, let's see if you can summarize the information for us. Which types of animals seem to experience changes in brainwaves while they're sleeping?
Humans, of course, and also mammals, birds, and reptiles. Fish don't seem to experience changes in brain waves.
And what about periods of dreaming?
Again, humans, of course, experience periods of dreaming, and most mammals seem to experience the same type of dreaming, with periods of dreaming sleep and periods of slow wave sleep. Birds may experience short periods of dreaming, but reptiles and fish don't.
That's very good. That's all for today.
Number 7. What does the instructor mainly want to get across in the discussion? Number 8. What happens during human sleep? Number 9. What does the instructor mean when he says this?
Okay, let's stop for a moment and make sure it's all clear so far.
Number 10. How long are the periods of dreaming for each of these groups of animals? Number 11. How does the professor seem to feel about the students' responses? Number 12. What conclusion can be drawn from the discussion? Example. Listening skill 1. Listen as a student talks to his advisor.
I see that a comprehensive exam is required for my major, and I'm not exactly sure what a comprehensive exam is.
A comprehensive exam is an exam that you take in the final quarter of your studies. Its purpose is to determine your overall competency.
How is this comprehensive exam different from a final exam?
A final exam covers all the material taught in a specific course. A comprehensive exam, on the other hand, covers all of the materials taught in the entire program.
And it's true that the comprehensive exam is required for my major? It's not an option?
No, it's not an option. A comprehensive exam isn't required for all majors at this university, but it is required for your major. Sorry, it's not optional.
Number 1. Why does the student go to see the advisor? Number 2. What is the topic of this conversation? Listening exercise 1. Passage 1. Questions 1 and 2. Listen to a conversation between a student and a professor.
Professor, I have a question about taking the engineering course that you'll be teaching. I already took this course once, but I didn't do very well in it, and I'd like to take it over again.
Why do you want to try it again? Do you think you can do better this time?
Well, I understood about half of the material last time, and if I concentrate on the rest of the material, I think I can do much better next time.
It's possible to repeat a course to try for a higher grade as long as the appropriate form is filled out.
I've got the form right here, and I've already filled out most of it. All I need is your signature at the bottom.
That's fine. You really do seem prepared. Give me the form and I'll sign it.
Number 1. Why does the student go to see the professor? Number 2. What does the student want to do? Passage 2. Questions 3 and 4. Listen as a student visits a university office.
I have a problem, and I hope you can help.
What's your problem?
I haven't received my grade report from last quarter, and my friends have already received their grade reports.
Grade reports from last quarter were mailed out 2 weeks ago. You haven't received yours yet?
No, I haven't.
Did you move in the last quarter? Has your address changed? Maybe the grade report went to the wrong address.
No, I'm still in the same place. I haven't moved. The address should be accurate.
And did you take all of your final exams? If you missed an exam, then your grade report would be held up.
No, I took all my exams.
Then, you should have received your grade report by now. Give me a moment, please, and I'll look your grade report up in the computer system and see if I can figure out what the problem is.
Thanks very much for your help.
Number 3. Why does the student go to the office? Number 4. What is the topic of the conversation? Passage 3. Questions 5 and 6. Listen to some students having a discussion.
Okay, let's see where we are in this project for geography class. Our presentation's in 2 days, and I hope we're almost ready.
I hope so too. We were each going to look up information about a different lake, with an emphasis on how each lake was formed, and we'll each present information on that lake to the class. My job was to look up information on Lake Superior, and I've done that.
I've done my research on the Caspian Sea.
And I'm ready with information about Lake Baikal.
Great. I'll go first. I'll be discussing the Caspian Sea, which is the largest inland body of water in the world. The Caspian Sea is a saltwater lake between Europe and Asia. It is believed that this lake was originally connected to the world's oceans which would account for its saltwater content. As the Earth's plates moved, this arm of the ocean was cut off.
Well, here's what I found on Lake Superior. Lake Superior is, of course, one of the Great Lakes in North America, and it's the largest freshwater lake in the world. Along with the other Great Lakes, it was formed by glaciers. Glaciers covered the northern part of North America until 10,000 years ago and were responsible for carving out the Great Lakes, including Lake Superior.
Okay, now for Lake Baikal, which is the lake I'll be discussing. Lake Baikal's in Russia, and it was formed when the Earth's crust broke apart at a fault. Because Lake Baikal formed over a split in the Earth's crust, it's a very deep lake, the deepest lake in the world. Lake Baikal's so deep that, even though its surface area is much smaller than the surface area of Lake Superior, it could hold the water of all the Great Lakes combined.
Well, it looks like we've all found information about each of these lakes, and in particular, how they were formed. Now we need to talk about how we can present the information to the rest of the class.
Number 5. What are the students discussing? Number 6. Why are the students discussing this material? Passage 4. Questions 7 and 8. Listen as a professor leads a class discussion.
Today, instead of lecturing, I'm going to start out by taking questions. You all know that the exam's tomorrow, so today I'd like to spend time talking about whatever's unclear to you. Yes, Anne, what's your question?
I've got a question about the theories of Redfield and Espy. I understand that they were meteorologists, American meteorologists in the 19th century, and that they had different theories about how storms behave. But I'm not quite sure I really understand the two theories. Could you explain them again?
Okay. It's true that William Redfield and James Espy were two 19th century meteorologists, and they had different theories on the behavior of storms. Espy argued that centripetal force was at work in storms. Anne, do you understand what direction the winds would be moving if centripetal force were involved?
I think so. Centripetal force would cause winds to move inward from all directions toward the center of the storm. But that's not what really happens during a storm, is it? Winds don't move inward toward the center of the storm.
That's right, Anne. Espy's theory was that centripetal force pushed the winds of a storm inward toward the center from all directions. But this theory hasn't proven very accurate. Now, the other meteorologist was Redfield. Did Redfield agree or disagree with Espy?
I know that Redfield disagreed with Espy, but I'm not quite sure how.
Can someone else explain what Redfield believed? What about you, Chris?
Sure. Redfield argued that the winds in a storm rotated around the center of the storm, so the winds would be moving in a circular path. And he believed that the winds moved in a counterclockwise direction, which means that they moved in the opposite direction from the direction that a clock moves.
Yes, that's correct. Is that clear to you, Anne?
So, Espy believed that centripetal force caused winds to move inward toward the center of a storm. And, Redfield believed that the winds in a storm moved in a counterclockwise direction.
Exactly. Now for the most important question. We've already said that Espy's theory on how the winds in a storm behave wasn't very accurate. What about Redfield's theory? Was his theory accurate or inaccurate? Anne?
I think Redfield's description was quite close to what actually happens in a storm.
That's right. Now, who has another question?
Number 7. What is the topic of this discussion? Number 8. Why is this topic being discussed? Example, Listening Skill 2. Listen to a part of a lecture in an astronomy class.
Halley's Comet, which passes by our planet every 76 years, last came by our planet in 1986. This comet was named after astronomer Edmund Halley, who correctly predicted its return in 1758, 16 years after his death.
Number 1. What is stated in the lecture about Halley's Comet? Number 2. What does the lecturer say about Edmund Halley? Listening Exercise 2. Passage 1. Questions 1 through 6. Listen as a student talks to an office worker on campus.
Hi, I need to get a parking sticker.
Well, you've come to the right place. Let me ask you a few questions. First, are you a student?
Yes, I am.
And have you ever purchased a student parking sticker before?
No, I haven't. This is the first time I've gotten a parking sticker.
Okay. And do you have your student ID with you?
I do.
And how are you going to pay for the sticker? With cash, check, credit card, or debit card?
By check.
That's fine. All right. All you need to do is fill out this form and write your check, give me the form and the check, and then show me your student ID.
Do I have to bring my car over here so you can put the sticker on it?
No, that's not necessary. I'll give you the sticker and you can put it on your car. Just be sure to put it in the right place.
Where do I need to put it?
On the front window of the car on the right-hand side. No, wait a minute. Not on the right-hand side. It should be on the left-hand side.
Front window, left side. Okay, I've got it.
Now, do you know about the various parking areas on campus?
Well, I've noticed that the parking areas on campus are marked with different colors, but I'm not sure what these different colors mean.
It's really very easy. The parking areas are marked with 2 different colors. The blue parking areas are for faculty and staff, and the yellow parking areas are for students.
And I'm a student, so that means I can park in the yellow parking areas and not the blue ones.
That's exactly right. Now, let me get that sticker for you.
Number 1. What is the student's situation? Number 2. How is the student going to pay? Number 3. What does the student not need to do? Number 4. Where does the sticker go? Number 5. What is stated about parking on campus? Number 6. Who parks in which areas? Passage 2. Questions 7 through 11. Listen to a discussion by some students who are taking a drama class.
We need to get going on our class project for drama class. We have to present a scene from our town in costume and with props. Our performance is only in 3 weeks, and that's not very much time for all we have to do.
Let's see. We've already decided on a scene from our town.
And we know who's going to play each part. Bill, you're going to be the stage manager. That's a big part in this play. Tina, you're going to play Emily, and I'm going to play George. We're going to do a scene from the part of the play that takes place before George and Emily's wedding. I've already started learning my lines. What about you two?
I've already started working on my lines.
And I'm familiar with mine too. I think we're ready to read through the scene together.
Why don't we discuss what we're going to do about costumes and props first, and then we can run through the scene together?
That sounds like a good idea to me.
I think so too.
Number 7. When is the student's performance? Number 8. Which of these is not a character in the scene? Number 9. How familiar are the students with their lines? Number 10. What is stated about the scene? Number 11. What are the students going to discuss next? Passage 3. Questions 12 through 17. Listen to a lecture in an education class.
All of you are enrolled in this introductory education course because you want to become teachers. I'd like to introduce this course with a little information about the life of a teacher a century ago. I hope you'll understand this information about early teachers, and I think you'll appreciate how much the life of a teacher has changed over the past century. Early in the 20th century, the life of a teacher was quite different from what it is now. There were very strict rules that governed every aspect of the teacher's life. The rules weren't just about how a teacher could conduct herself in the classroom and on the school grounds. There were also numerous rules that governed just about everything a teacher did. Here are some of the rules. Teachers had to follow strict rules about their appearance. They were sometimes told not to wear colorful clothing, not to dye their hair or wear it loose, and not to wear their skirts above the ankle. Teachers' whereabouts during after-school hours were also strictly regulated. There were rules forbidding teachers to go to bars and to ice cream parlors. There were rules requiring teachers to be home after 8 in the evening. And there were some rules forbidding them to leave town without permission. Just about any action a teacher wanted to take could be regulated. Teachers could be forbidden to smoke or to drink. They were also sometimes forbidden to spend time with men or to marry if they wanted to remain teachers.
Number 12. Who is listening to the lecture? Number 13. The rules discussed in the lecture relate to what period of time? Number 14. What is stated in the lecture about the rules for teachers? Number 15. What rules about clothing are discussed in the lecture? Number 16. What were teachers required to do in the evening? Number 17. Where were teachers forbidden to go? Passage 4. Questions 18 through 23. Listen to a discussion by some students taking a geology class.
Okay, so the next type of mineral we need to talk about is iron pyrite.
Iron pyrite? Isn't that what's also called fool's gold?
Yes, it is.
Why is iron pyrite called fool's gold?
It's called fool's gold because it can look sort of like gold, and sometimes people who found iron pyrite thought they'd found gold.
So iron pyrite kind of looks like gold? What exactly does it look like?
It can be shiny golden in color, but its crystals have a different shape from golden crystals. Iron pyrite crystals are cubical in shape. Crystals of gold aren't.
How does iron pyrite get its shiny golden color if it's not gold?
I know the answer to that. Iron pyrite gets its shiny golden color from the mix of elements in it, the elements it contains.
Iron pyrite's made from a mix of elements?
Yes, iron pyrite's a compound of iron and sulfur, so it's very different from gold because it's made of this compound.
And it's also quite different from gold in how it reacts to heat. Iron pyrite has a very strong reaction to heat.
Why? What happens when iron pyrite's heated?
When iron pyrite's heated, it smokes and develops a strong, an awful odor.
And gold doesn't have that kind of reaction to heat?
No, it doesn't.
Do you know where the name pyrite came from?
I think I know that. It came from the Greek word for fire, didn't it?
Yes, it did. If you strike iron pyrite with metal, then it produces sparks. Some ancient cultures used to use iron pyrite to start fires. They couldn't have used gold that way.
So iron pyrite did have some use, even if it really wasn't gold.
Number 18. In what way is iron pyrite similar to gold? Number 19. Why is iron pyrite called fool's gold? Number 20. What is iron pyrite composed of? Number 21. How does iron pyrite react to heat? Number 22. Where did the word pyrite come from? Number 23. How did some ancient cultures use iron pyrite? Listening review exercise. Skills 1 and 2. Questions 1 through 7. Listen to a conversation between a student and a professor.
Thanks for seeing me, Dr. Barton.
No problem. It's my office hour. What did you want to talk about?
I wanted to discuss the topic I've chosen for the paper I'm supposed to be writing for your anthropology course. The topic I'm thinking about is a bit unusual.
Oh, you know it has to be related to some aspect of anthropology that we're studying. What topic did you have in mind?
I wanted to write about a test used by the Roman military to test soldiers' eyesight.
An eyesight test used by the Roman military? Are you sure this is related to our anthropology class? Well, tell me about it. What is this eyesight test that the Roman military used?
Well, it was a test that the Romans used to determine if their soldiers would fight as foot soldiers on the front lines or as archers behind the front lines. Roman soldiers were required to undergo certain tests to determine their ability to perform as soldiers. One of these tests was simply to count the stars in the constellation the Big Dipper. This test determined the acuity of their vision. See, look at this picture of the Big Dipper. You can see the 7 stars in the Big Dipper. The star at the bend of the handle of the Big Dipper is called Mizar, and Mizar is a binary star. If you look closely, there's a second star called Alcor next to Mizar. If a Roman soldier's eyesight was good enough to see Alcor, he could fight as an archer. If he couldn't see Alcor, he had to fight on the front lines as a foot soldier.
So, this eye test was based on the ability of the soldier to see Alcor next to Mizar.
Yes, exactly.
Wow, that's a very interesting test. But I'm not sure that it's related to the material in our anthropology class. Well, let's put it this way. How would you relate this to the material in the anthropology course?
I'd relate it to the idea of survival of the fittest.
Interesting. And how would you relate it to this concept? Survival of the fittest has to do with the idea that those who are strongest or have some other physical or mental advantage will be more likely to survive.
Well, this test for eyesight was used not only by the Romans, but also other groups of people for hundreds of years. The interesting point is that over time, more people have been able to pass the test, and the fact that more people have been able to pass this test over time has been attributed to survival of the fittest. It was certainly true for Roman soldiers that those who passed the test had a better chance of surviving for longer.
And why is that? Why did Roman soldiers who passed the test stand a better chance of surviving longer?
Well, soldiers with better eyesight weren't on the front lines. Those with worse eyesight were sent to the front lines and, more often than not, were killed on the front lines. Archers stood a better chance of survival and were around to father children who would also tend to have better eyesight than those who failed the test. This is what supports the concept of survival of the fittest.
That's an interesting idea. As long as you concentrate on the idea of survival of the fittest in your paper and use this example of an eye test to support the concept, I think you would have a solid paper.
That's what I'll do then. Thanks, Dr. Barton.
Number 1. Why does the student go to see the professor? Number 2. What is the topic of the paper he wants to write? Number 3. Why were Roman soldiers asked to count the stars in the Big Dipper? Number 4. Which of the following is not true? Number 5. What two statements describe possible outcomes from the Roman eyesight test? Number 6. How does the term survival of the fittest relate to the test that the student describes? Number 7. What does the professor finally decide? Example: Listening Skill 3. Listen as a student asks her professor about an assignment.
Professor Roberts, I have a question for you about the assignment.
Okay, if it's a short question.
It is. The assignment on the syllabus lists pages 101 through 120 in the text, and the last page of the assigned reading is a list of questions. I was wondering if we were supposed to read through the questions and just think about the answers, or actually write out the answers to the questions.
Well, you don't need to write out neat and formal answers to the questions, but you should be really familiar with the answers because we'll be talking about the questions during class, and I expect you to have answers ready.
You mean we don't need to turn in written answers to the questions?
That's right. But you might want to jot down notes about your answers so that you can refer to them during our discussion.
Number 1. Listen again to part of the passage. Then answer the question.
Professor Roberts, I have a question for you about the assignment.
Okay, if it's a short question.
What does the professor mean when he says this?
Okay, if it's a short question.
Number 2. Listen again to part of the passage. Then answer the question.
Well, you don't need to write out neat and formal answers to the questions, but you should be really familiar with the answers because we'll be talking about the questions during class, and I expect you to have answers ready.
You mean we don't need to turn in written answers to the questions?
Why does the student say this?
You mean we don't need to turn in written answers to the questions?
Listening exercise 3. Passage 1. Questions 1 through 4. Listen as a student talks to a librarian.
Excuse me, can you help me, please?
That's why I'm here. What do you need?
I need to find a specific magazine, and I'm not sure where to look.
How old is the magazine you need to find? Is it a recent magazine? Less than a year old? Or is it an older magazine?
You need to know how old the magazine is to find it?
That's why I asked. The more recent magazines, those that are less than a year old, are in the magazine reading room on the second floor. But after a year, magazines are bound together and put in hard covers, and the bound magazines are on the third floor.
Well, the magazine I want to find is more than a year old, so that means that I need to go to the second floor. Oh, excuse me. What am I saying? The third floor.
That's right, the third floor.
Thanks for your help. I really appreciate it.
You're quite welcome. Feel free to come by any time.
Number 1. Listen again to part of the conversation. Then answer the question.
Excuse me, can you help me, please?
That's why I'm here. What do you need?
Why does the librarian say this?
That's why I'm here.
Number 2. Listen again to part of the conversation. Then answer the question.
You need to know how old the magazine is to find it?
That's why I asked.
What does the librarian mean when he says this?
That's why I asked.
Number 3. Listen again to part of the conversation. Then answer the question.
Well, the magazine I want to find is more than a year old, so that means that I need to go to the second floor. Oh, excuse me. What am I saying? The third floor.
Why does the student say this?
Oh, excuse me. What am I saying?
Number 4. Listen again to part of the conversation. Then answer the question.
Thanks for your help. I really appreciate it.
You're quite welcome. Feel free to come by any time.
What does the librarian mean when he says this?
Feel free to come by any time.
Passage 2. Questions 5 through 9. Listen to two students having a conversation.
Hey, Sam, I have a question for you.
All you have to do is ask.
I think it's a pretty easy question. All I need to know is how I can get a copy of my transcript. I need one for a scholarship I'm applying for.
Oh, I think I can handle that one. You need to go to the registrar's office to get a copy of your transcript.
That's all there is to it? I just go to the registrar's office and ask for a copy of my transcript and I'll get it?
Well, it's not quite that easy. You need to go to the registrar's office and fill out a form, a transcript request form. Then you turn in the form with a $10 fee.
That doesn't sound like it'll take too long.
I hope you don't need the transcript too soon.
I need it within a week.
Well, you may get lucky, but don't count on it.
I really need it within a week, or else I won't be able to turn the application in on time, and that means I won't get a scholarship.
Well, if I were you, I'd get over to the registrar's office immediately, and it wouldn't hurt to explain that you need the transcript right away. But I wouldn't count on it. I don't think transcripts are processed that quickly.
I'll get over there right now and see what happens.
Number 5. Listen again to part of the conversation. Then answer the question.
Hey, Sam, I have a question for you.
All you have to do is ask.
Why does the man say this?
All you have to do is ask.
Number 6. Listen again to part of the conversation. Then answer the question.
I think it's a pretty easy question. All I need to know is how I can get a copy of my transcript. I need one for a scholarship I'm applying for.
Oh, I think I can handle that one.
What does the man mean when he says this?
Oh, I think I can handle that one.
Number 7. Listen again to part of the conversation. Then answer the question.
You need to go to the registrar's office to get a copy of your transcript.
That's all there is to it? I just go to the registrar's office and ask for a copy of my transcript and I'll get it?
What does the woman mean when she says this?
That's all there is to it?
Number 8. Listen again to part of the conversation. Then answer the question.
Well, you may get lucky, but don't count on it.
I really need it within a week, or else I won't be able to turn the application in on time, and that means I won't get a scholarship.
Why does the man say this?
Well, you may get lucky, but don't count on it.
Number 9. Listen again to part of the conversation. Then answer the question.
I really need it within a week, or else I won't be able to turn the application in on time, and that means I won't get a scholarship.
Well, if I were you, I'd get over to the registrar's office immediately.
What does the man imply when he says this?
Well, if I were you, I'd get over to the registrar's office immediately.
Passage 3. Questions 10 through 13. Listen to a group of students discussing information from a zoology class.
The next animal we need to discuss is the opossum. The opossum is another kind of marsupial.
A marsupial? Oh no, I think we're supposed to know what that is.
We are. A marsupial's an animal that carries its young in a pouch.
Oh, that's right. It's like a kangaroo.
Exactly.
And young opossums stay in their mother's pouch for what, a few days?
No, not exactly. It's about 2 months. Then, when the babies are about 2 months old, they come out of their mother's pouch, but they don't go very far. For the next few months, they go everywhere with their mother.
They just ride along on their mother's back.
So young opossums spend the first 2 months in their mother's pouch and the next 2 months hanging on her back?
You've got it. Now, aren't opossums animals that play dead?
I don't think it's opossums that play dead. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe it is. We do talk about playing possum if we're talking about pretending that we're asleep or dead.
Exactly.
So when an opossum's frightened by an attacker, it doesn't run away?
No, it doesn't. It just rolls over on its back, kind of curls up, and pretends it's dead.
I guess it's just hoping the attacker will think it's dead and will go away and leave it alone.
Number 10. Listen again to part of the discussion. Then answer the question.
The next animal we need to discuss is the opossum. The opossum is another kind of marsupial.
A marsupial? Oh no, I think we're supposed to know what that is.
What does the woman mean when she says this?
Oh no, I think we're supposed to know what that is.
Number 11. Listen again to part of the discussion. Then answer the question.
And young opossums stay in their mother's pouch for what, a few days?
No, not exactly. It's about 2 months.
Why does the man say this?
No, not exactly.
Number 12. Listen again to part of the discussion. Then answer the question.
So young opossums spend the first 2 months in their mother's pouch and the next 2 months hanging on her back?
You've got it.
What does the man mean when he says this?
You've got it.
Number 13. Listen again to part of the discussion. Then answer the question.
I don't think it's opossums that play dead. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe it is.
Why does the man say this?
Oh, wait a minute. Maybe it is.
Passage 4. Questions 14 through 19. Listen to a discussion in an astronomy class.
Today, we'll be discussing the planet Venus, which is the second planet in our solar system. I'm sure you all know which planet is the third planet in our solar system. Yes, Beth?
Is Earth the third planet?
You don't sound too sure of your answer, Beth, but yes, that's true. Venus is the second planet in our solar system, and Earth is the third. Venus is almost the same size as our Earth, which is the fifth largest planet in the solar system. The planet Venus is easily visible in the sky from Earth, although not always as a complete sphere. It goes through some phases, just like the moon. Sometimes it's fully visible, like a full moon. Sometimes it's half visible, and sometimes it's only a small crescent. When do you think Venus is the brightest? When it's fully visible or when it's a crescent? Mark?
Well, it makes sense that it would be the brightest when it's fully visible.
Well, things aren't always as they seem. Try again.
You mean Venus is actually brighter when it's only a small crescent than when it's fully visible?
That's exactly what I mean. Now, does anyone know if Venus is a hot or cold planet? What would you expect, since Venus is closer to the sun than our planet is?
Since it's so close to the sun, I think it would be very hot.
And it is. The temperature there can reach almost to 500 degrees centigrade. What is this in Fahrenheit? Anyone? Come on, we've talked about this before.
I think that's around 900 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yes, it is. Now, we've said that the temperature on Venus is quite hot, and the temperature there is hot because Venus is so close to the sun. But that's not the only reason that Venus is so hot. It's also hot for another reason. Does anyone know? Could it be the atmosphere? What is its atmosphere made of? Beth?
Its atmosphere is almost entirely carbon dioxide.
Yes, that's right, Beth. And this type of atmosphere holds in the heat from the sun extremely well. Now, let's talk about the clouds that cover Venus. As you know, Venus is visible to us on Earth, but it's not actually the planet that we see. It's the clouds. The surface of Venus can't be seen, even with a telescope, because of the clouds that surround the planet. What can you tell me about the clouds that cover Venus?
The clouds around Venus?
Yes, I'm asking about the clouds around Venus. I want to know about the clouds around Venus.
Do you want to know what they're made of? They're made of carbon dioxide. No, wait a minute. The atmosphere is made of carbon dioxide. The clouds are made of sulfuric acid.
That's right. The clouds on Venus are actually made of sulfuric acid. These clouds help to contribute to the brightness of Venus in our sky. When Venus appears to shine so brightly, it's because the light of the sun is reflecting off Venus's clouds of sulfuric acid.
Number 14. Listen again to part of the discussion. Then answer the question.
I'm sure you all know which planet is the third planet in our solar system. Yes, Beth?
Is Earth the third planet?
You don't sound too sure of your answer, Beth.
Why does the professor say this?
You don't sound too sure of your answer, Beth.
Number 15. Listen again to part of the discussion. Then answer the question.
When do you think Venus is the brightest? When it's fully visible or when it's a crescent? Mark?
Well, it makes sense that it would be the brightest when it's fully visible.
Well, things aren't always as they seem. Try again.
What does the professor mean when she says this?
Well, things aren't always as they seem. Try again.
Number 16. Listen again to part of the discussion. Then answer the question.
The temperature there can reach almost to 500 degrees centigrade. What is this in Fahrenheit? Anyone? Come on, we've talked about this before.
What does the professor mean when she says this?
Come on, we've talked about this before.
Number 17. Listen again to part of the discussion. Then answer the question.
But that's not the only reason that Venus is so hot. It's also hot for another reason. Does anyone know? Could it be the atmosphere?
Why does the professor say this?
Could it be the atmosphere?
Number 18. Listen again to part of the discussion. Then answer the question.
What can you tell me about the clouds that cover Venus?
The clouds around Venus?
Yes, I'm asking about the clouds around Venus. I want to know about the clouds around Venus.
Why does the professor say this?
Yes, I'm asking about the clouds around Venus. I want to know about the clouds around Venus.
Number 19. Listen again to part of the discussion. Then answer the question.
Do you want to know what they're made of? They're made of carbon dioxide. No, wait a minute. The atmosphere is made of carbon dioxide. The clouds are made of sulfuric acid.
What does the student mean when he says this?
No, wait a minute.
Example. Listening skill 4. Listen to a conversation between two students.
Do you enjoy playing chess?
Yes, I really do.
Well, you might think about joining the chess club. I belong to it, and I think you might really enjoy it too.
What does the chess club do?
The members get together once a week for friendly competitions. Then each semester, the 3 best players from the club compete in a tournament with players from other schools.
The meetings once a week sound like a lot of fun, but, my chess playing just, might not be quite up to the level of tournament play.
Well, why don't you come with me this Wednesday and try out one of the weekly meetings? You can come to the meetings for a while and then see if you're ready to compete in a tournament in a few months.
Number 1. Listen again to part of the conversation. Then answer the question.
Do you enjoy playing chess?
Yes, I really do.
Well, you might think about joining the chess club. I belong to it, and I think you might really enjoy it too.
How does the woman seem to feel about the chess club? Number 2. Listen again to part of the conversation. Then answer the question.
The meetings once a week sound like a lot of fun, but, my chess playing just, might not be quite up to the level of tournament play.
Which sentence best expresses how the man feels? This is the end of CD 1.